Yeah, man. I mean, so my parents are from Eritrea. It's a small country beside Ethiopia and East Africa. They used to be one country and got their independence not too long ago. So, I mean, I've been back twice when I was a kid, but I mean, I haven't been back in a while, so I'm due for a trip. But I mean, they definitely. I mean, it took back then. Like, it was tough getting out of these countries, man. It's a third world country, and
Right.
they had to escape on their own 2 feet and find a way to maneuver. They went to Germany, Montreal before kind of setting up shop in Ottawa and stuff. So I mean, just been I definitely owe a lot to them, man, because the sacrifice. My dad. He's a taxi driver for over 20 plus years in Ottawa.
Right.
Someone I took a lot of like my work ethic and stuff from because he kind of just rise and grind. He's about the trenches, man. He just wakes up in the morning and wakes up, clocks in at 4 o'clock, and he'll finish the night at like 8. Doesn't complain. He just takes care of his family. And my mom's kind of the lover, and she sees anyone on the street, she brings them in and treats them like her own. So I kind of just kind of combine both their values into who I am. Montreal man, Brandon. You see me.
Awesome, man. So again, so then you're one of four siblings. You said youngest of four siblings. So now, was sports something common in your household? Did your family, your other siblings, did they pursue sport in any way, shape, or form, or was it something that you came into on your own?
Honestly, man, it kind of came into my own, and in a sense that like everyone played, and my family will turn a game on and stuff, but there was no pressure around sports. Like we kind of just enjoyed it, and when I was younger, like it was just play whatever you can, pick up a ball, like just run around, be on your bike, just do whatever. So I'm not gonna pretend like I was born into a basketball family or nothing like that. I mean, I did karate and stuff when I was younger. I was just kind of just a hiker.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
So man, I was just all over the place, man.
Right, right.
I'm not gonna front like that. And then, when I got a little bit older, I kind of just decided like, let me see how far I can take basketball. And I mean, we could talk about that in a little bit as well.
All right, for sure. So again, so then when did it? At what point did it really become about basketball for you? As you just touched on a little bit, because if I'm not mistaken, you were into martial arts at a young age. So at what point did you say, you know what, let's put the martial arts aside and let's see what basketball has for me?
I just, I don't know what happened. I did karate for like 6 years. It was like a big thing. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but then I kind of got into the sports and the basketball world a little bit. And I remember, I'll actually never forget this. It was like we lost the grade 9 championship, tier 2 city championship to Notre Dame. And this guy named Jamie hit a game winner from the West Side. And I remember like that whole game, I was nervous, and like usually I get nervous before a game,
right?
But like I had the nerves the whole game, and I was just like, yo, like I felt like I wasn't ready for the moment when I think back about it, and I was kind of like, yo, let me just. This is the summer. I'm gonna put like soccer. I'm gonna put all this other stuff to the side, and let me just try and give like 100% effort to basketball because that's what the sport the heaviest,
right?
And like let me just see where I can go from here, and then from there it just became like, how can I actually maximize my like ability? So it was a matter of like just grade 10, waking up at 7 a.m. and just going to the park and doing drills.
Right.
And then kind of just going from there to like, trying to get in the runs with the older guys and stuff like that, and, just getting pushed around. But you know how it is, man. When you're the young guy, you're just trying to earn your stripes and like you kind of just get the respect in the neighborhood playing with those guys. And then eventually you end up being the guys that get to run the court later on, and when you're in grade 12 and whatnot. So that was kind of the start of me taking it seriously, I'd say.
Okay, so then the martial arts thing that was just like, you did it for 6 years. So was that like, would you say that was just for pastime, or were you using it for self-defense? Were you out there, or were you just doing it for fun?
Nah, man, I got to go pray for these schlumps like Brandon when they came to Ottawa U, man. But nah, they honestly, it was a matter of like something I just picked up on. I was just a hyper kid, and my parents were like, "Yo, do you want to try this out?"
Okay.
And then I got into it, and like I started messing with like the competitions. I like the competitive aspect, like all these like sparring tournaments and stuff like that. Okay. But I mean, it was a cool experience, that's for sure. But I never thought that it was like going to be my future or nothing like that.
All right. Shout out to Chris Dale. He just tapped in. He got the gold coming up.
Yes.
Gold
Ultimate troll.
recognition out the gates. All right, so fast forward to high school now. What was your approach to school and basketball at this stage of your life? 'Cause again, grade 9. Are you really that serious, or are you still just doing it for fun? What was your approach to school and basketball at this point?
I thought school was the most important thing. And then, my parents said if you want to play on your teams and do certain things, you got to maintain a certain, grade point average to like their standard. Cause like they look at your report card and they're like, why'd you only get a B? They don't know, like back then, I'll be honest, like everyone, I don't know if every immigrant's like this, but every immigrant's parents are like this, but they just think like it's time to be a doctor. Like it's, you're here to like, make these like super goals. And I didn't know where I like what I love to do
Right.
in terms of school, but I knew that it was important. I knew that they were going to go hand in hand in some aspect, because you can't be that guy that's failing classes and then you're in detention instead of going to your practices,
Exactly.
So it didn't make sense in terms of like a simple. That was on a small form, and I kind of think that translates all the way to university in terms of being eligible. In terms of being a pro, even like just maintaining your lifestyle off the court and staying as disciplined as you can, because you can get in trouble for that stuff as well.
Okay, so then your parents set a standard for you academically. So then while you're in high school, during that time, are you preparing yourself to pursue basketball at a post-secondary institution? Or again, are you just living in the moment, taking care of your grades and just playing on the school teams and so on? Are you forward thinking in this moment, or just living in the moment?
I'd say I was living in the moment until the summer going into grade 10, where I was like, let me, all these library hours, Mike. I think it was in the summer going into grade 10 where I was like, let me go to some summer camps. Let me, tap into like the Ottawa Phoenix network, where, some guys brought me out and I kind of had the opportunity to learn and see how these older guys kind of trained, and these guys that were about to be university athletes. Speaking of Phoenix, we got Greg Carter in the building.
Shout out to Greg, I see you.
Yes, sir. And like these guys were all the older guys that I got to finally actually watch and see. Okay, these guys are about to go to Ottawa U. This guy's about to go to Carleton. This guy's about to go to Lake Cat, wherever. So I'm like, okay, let me see how these guys operate and how. I used to be that annoying young guy that used to just like message these guys on MSN all day, like, yo, what did you do to get better? I used to hit you up all the time and say, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, what do I need to focus on to get better on my jump shot? I didn't know, but I kind of just said, like, let me soak it all in and then use that to my advantage going and playing grade 10 high school, 11 high school, 12 high school, and kind of get that upper edge on some of these guys.
Right.
And I mean, I think I'd say, my last 3 years is when I started to try to see, like, let me see if I can get to the university level.
Okay, so that's a key point that you made. I had one of my earlier interviews with a guy at Neville Gallimore's prep school. His name is Jeff MacArthur. He's from California, played at University of Cal, came down to Canada in St. Catharines and started a prep school for football. In this conversation, he made a point kind of similar to your whole setup, was that he says Canadian kids are at a disadvantage because when they want to go Division I, they start focusing on that in their grade 12 year. He said the American schools are looking at you from your grade 9 year all through high school. So it's important what you did in grade 9 as much as what you did in your last year. So do you think that, do you agree with that point in terms of that Canadian kids should be more forward thinking as they get into high school as opposed to waiting until their senior year to be making decisions?
I mean, that's a good question, man, because I agree to a certain extent. Like, I think it's good to map out your plan.
Right.
But I also know that, like, when I think 4 years ahead, it's tough for me because that's just me as a person. Like, I got to kind of focus on, like, how I can attack, like, this next week of training or, like, this next month, because I kind of notice that so much can go on out of your control as well.
Yeah.
So if you kind of have an idea of what you want, but you're willing to see that flexibility, then I think that gives you the best chance. Because I think, when you're in high school in grade 9, like, it's good to try to think, man, go make mistakes, like, run around, be wild at the same time, but be disciplined at the same time and know that, like, okay, if this is something I care about, yeah, I care about basketball, but like a lot of things tie into that, like your grades, your the way you're sleeping, the way you're eating. And like, I wish I knew some of those things back then, because I think that would help me. I wish I could have taken the weight room a little bit more serious and even pushed it to a further limit. But at the same time, like, I think you should have an idea, but at the same time, like, don't be so fixated on the fact that you can't adjust along the way.
Right. Great. So now it's common it's a common thing amongst Canadian players who play basketball, who are competitive and passionate about it. It's common during your high school years to have a passion to obviously go south of the border and play for a D1 school, right? Now,
For sure.
was this something that was in your heart, or was it something that you were trying to do as well, or did you just say, you know what, I'm good, I'm going to stay in Canada?
Honestly, man, I'm not even gonna front. Like I had that type of luxury where I had many schools and stuff wanting me. Of course, that always sounds like the dream. And I played Phoenix, so they kind of did a lot of the AAU circuit where you play, in the States and whatnot. But I'm not gonna say that I had a lot of offers and interest, and even thought about writing my SATs and stuff like that. And I wish I even gave myself that opportunity. But at the same time, I didn't even know enough about the CIS at the time. Like I knew there was Ottawa U, I knew there was Carleton. And then after that, it was not like I knew like some guys played at Lakehead, some guys did some stuff that played at Phoenix, but I didn't know enough about it. And I didn't have a lot of teams looking at me. I think only, I went on a recruiting trip to UNB, for example. Ottawa U, Coach DeVero was there at the time. So
Right.
he was someone that he recruited me for my last 2 years of high school. And like maybe a little bit of Carlton talking to me, but nothing materialized to the point where I was like, yo, I'm a D1 basketball player and I'm going to get this kind of love. So I kind of had to kind of just be real with myself and say, yo, let me just, Ottawa U is going to give me a chance. They pursued the most interest. Like, let me do my part and graduate, do this, be as good of a basketball player as I can be to give myself the chance to play at the next level.
Solid, man. Solid points. So now, you have a few interests coming out of high school. You said UNB, shout out to the East Coast. A few other places that you knew of, but you weren't thoroughly knowledgeable about CIS and the schools and the level of competition in each conferences. So then, how did you end up at Ottawa U?
I mean, I think it came to, so basically the story is that DeVero was recruiting me for 2 years.
Okay.
And I end up in my grade 12 year, and it's like towards the end, and I find out that DeVero is actually leaving to go to McGill.
Okay.
And I kind of find that out through like the grapevine of some sort, because for whatever reason. And DeVero ends up calling me and telling me like, yo, I'm going to McGill. I want to bring you with me. And in my head, I'm like, I don't have McGill grades, I'll be honest. And like for you to hit me with that like 2 months before and me finding out there's someone, I kind of just all rubbed me the wrong way.
Okay.
So I was just like, I got to figure out my next option. And then from there, Coach O'Neill, big shout out to Emil, man. He was a big mentor for me when I kind of got there, because he was part of the recruiting process.
Okay.
And he kind of just told me like, stick with it, come to these workouts. But, he couldn't guarantee me anything either, because now there's a new coach coming in, and whenever you go to a new coach, like at a new program, they're going to bring their guys in, and that's just a given. I've seen that. You're going to see that at any level,
Right.
That they feel comfortable with. So, me and Coach Jimmy didn't really know each other like that, and I kind of went to the workouts, and I wasn't killing. I kind of had that level of comfort, like I knew I had this look, and now I got to kind of just grind again and go against all these new guys. So from there, Emil kind of just stayed in my head and just checked in on me and said, man, just keep doing these workouts, like stay aggressive, do your thing. And I kind of had a better end to my training camp, where Coach Jimmy and Emil talked to me and said, like, we'll have you on the team. I don't know if it's going to be a red shirt or if you're going to be playing. Nothing's guaranteed.
Right.
But, we want you on the team. And at that point, I'm just like, it's end of August. I'm like, all right, like, what do I really have,
Yeah.
So I'm just like, let's take this opportunity. And, I think ignorance is bliss, because I don't think that got to me as much as maybe it could get to some others. And I was like, this is an opportunity. I look at it as an opportunity and not like a slap in the face.
Right.
And I was just like, all right, let me get in the gym and get to it, man. And, from there it was just, that's the start of it. That's the start of it at Ottawa, man.
Okay, sounds good, man. So now, just to touch on a point, I remember when you did go to Ottawa U, I mean, it wasn't really broadcasted about where you went because, again, as you mentioned, you weren't really a highly recruited guy coming out of high school as other guys have been. Usually when there's a top guy, you know exactly where it's going, the hype, the hoopla, and all that kind of stuff. There wasn't really that for you. So then you go to Ottawa U, and I remember I think the first preseason game was against a U.S. school, Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I remember during the course of the game, everybody was on Facebook. This guy, and he just hit 5 threes in the first half. He's 18 points. He's killing. And then, so from there, it kind of took off for you. So now you get on the team. You know, you have an incredible preseason, and you're kind of getting the attention of the coaching staff and your teammates, right? But again, as you know, being a first-year guy, there's already some big dogs on the team. There's already some big dogs on campus. And there's one guy that comes to mind is also very talented out of where you guy is Warren Ward. And we knew that at that point, that was his year, that was his team, and so on and so forth. So now you go in there, you get on the team, you make a lot of noise. So then what steps do you take at this point? Do you go in there now and say, you know what, I'm killing, I'm the man, I'm the big dog, or do you now look at ways where you could complement the other big dogs that are obviously already on the roster and how you fit in and kind of gel and make the team grow from there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man, honestly, like you said, like I kind of went in with no expectations in my first game. Came off the bench. I remember I was like intimidated. I rocked like a XX white tee underneath my jersey because I was going against some athletes on the other side of the floor. I'm seeing these guys like, you guys are like some soon-to-be NBA guys and stuff like that, you know? So I'm like, all right, well, let's see how it goes. I come in off the bench, and I ended up having like I think I started a really big first half. I think I finished the game with, like you said, I think I finished with 18.
Yeah, it was
18, like whatever. It was a really efficient game. I was just like, that was an out-of-body experience a little bit, man, because I'm just like, I wasn't supposed to have nothing, and now I just logged in 28 minutes against the NCAA D1 team that's going to make the tournament.
Right.
So that was a big experience for me, and probably like my biggest game at that point up until. And from there, it was honestly, after that, I think I might have started every game out after that, and kind of just, you know, we used to have training camp and stuff and practice after that, but that kind of gave me like a little jump start to that confidence and understanding that work and stuff. And if you believe that, you know, you can do these things, and it kind of just made me feel like, all right, your work's paying off.
Right.
So from there, I mean, my role, my first couple of years was kind of just like a spot up guy. You know, I didn't really have the ball in my hands a lot, but I kind of just spaced the floor for guys. And, you know, I kept my role simple because, like you said, we had Warren. Warren was like, he has NBA talent, so I kind of made sure I had to play off him. And like, I don't have an ego in that sense. I'm just like, how can I make the best of my situation today, and then the next day, and the next day after, you know? And you know, mind you to say, like, me and Warren had battles. You know, we hated each other some days. We messed with each other, but when the games got on, like, we still tried to get those wins. And I'll be honest, like, that's just the mentality and like the atmosphere you want in practices. Like, you want to go at each other, you know? Like Warren exemplifies that to like the highest level, and like he can grind your gears because of that, but he's not going to change. Like, he is who he is.
Right.
And I got better from that because I was like, yo, like, this guy doesn't care what people think. Like, cool. Like, let me just play. Let me work as hard as I can. And if I grind people's gears because I work hard, then so be it. Like, I can live with that. I can live with that, right? So that was a challenge. That was cool for me, man, because that was the best player I played with to date. So that was cool for me.
Shout out to Warren Ward, man, the legend.
Warren Ward.
Another goal. So I'm gonna read a list of achievements that you've accomplished from your time at Ottawa U up until you graduate. So every year you seemingly got better. You improved every year, and it shows based on these awards you got. So in 2010, 2011, your first season, you make the OUA East All-Rookie team. And then from there in 2011 to 2014, you're a first-team All-Star. 2014, you're a second-team All-Canadian. 2014, 2015, your last season, you're now OUA Player of the Year. You're the U Sport Player of the Year. So you got better every year, and that shows like the measures that, you know, the coaching staff and you took to help get you to that point. So how did the coaching staff at Ottawa U, how did they help you to maximize your potential, and how did you respond to them in those moments?
I mean, I think so. Like we said, like my first year without having any expectations, that kind of was just like that put me in a good place.
Right.
Where now they were like, okay, Johnny's part of our future, Johnny's part of our plan type thing. And I was like, all right, shout out Roman in the back. You know, from there, it was a matter of just like me saying that like I'm ready to just work and keep getting better. Like that was always my mentality. I was kind of like I'm gonna just try and get better every single year, and I don't really got a lot of repetition with my boy Caleb, and it was just a matter of like wanting to be better every year, man. I used to be. I used to always annoy you, and like I know this isn't about you, but we used to be in the gym at Lee's, and you'd have come in with these workouts, and I wouldn't know how to do some of these things, but I was always there the next day because I was just like, let me just push it. The same mentality I had in high school, but now it's a bigger stage. So I was just like, let me test the waters. Let me give it my all. Let me learn how to put the ball on the floor a little bit. Let me learn how to be a better passer. Let me do certain things. And Coach Jimmy kind of started to give me more and more freedom, and the rest of the staff, and honestly my teammates, man, because if you don't have that team that believes in you and kind of understands and respects your work, then like it's hard to really make those those strides as a team and as a player. So by my last year or my last couple of years, like Coach Jimmy kind of he would text me out during the season, during the off season, and kind of tell me like, I want you to be more aggressive, or like I want you to take a tough shot, because, take a shot when you get over half, because then, teams got to guard you closer. Just little adjustments like that.
Right.
And, hearing you when your coach gives you that kind of confidence and stuff, and your teammates, honestly, man, like, I think the reason why I got to where I got to was because my teammates had my back when I failed. And, like, I know that might sound, like, weird to say, but, like, it's always easy to, like, have your back when, like, guys are hitting big shots and everyone's like, yo, you're the man. But, like, we've had hella years where we lost in the finals. We lost by 40 my last game in my career. Sorry, and like guys are in the locker room hugging because we're just like, yo, we did everything we can. It wasn't what we expected or we wanted, but everyone knew that they respected each other's work, and we were cool with that. And they let me get to that point, man. So I kind of owe a lot to them, and we're a good group of guys because of that, and they let me be the player I can. So like honestly, it's a two-way street, man. It's a two-way street. Credit goes to them too.
Awesome. So now, coaches have a vital job. Their job is very important in terms of obviously player development, team development, and things that help the team or help a program grow. Right. So now, how did playing for a coach like Coach Jimmy, Coach James Derwin, and the staff of Ottawa U, how did that help become a better person? Because basketball, obviously, there's improvements on the court. But how do you think that helps you improve as a person?
I think it was cool, man, because I wasn't given a lot and told like you're gonna be like this, you're gonna be like that, or you're given this. It made me really work and learn to appreciate everything I get in my life because you work for it, and at the same time, like it's due the next day. Like you gotta prove that you deserve that the next day because there's another recruit coming in, there's this guy coming in. If you're not on top of your school stuff, they'll just recruit over you, man. Like they can only do so much for you. So, I kind of, even though they told me you're in a good place my second year, my third year, I kind of felt like I owed it to myself, and I could never fully trust anyone because I was like, yo, I got to do it again this year. I got to do it again tomorrow. Like, teams are going to be ready, or, I got to finish my work because, I wasn't maybe the best student, but I made sure that, passing and making sure that my grades were well over like a 50, or that was a given because I didn't want to deal with any of that type of stress because I was like, that's unnecessary. Like I was trying to get 70s, 80s, whatever I could to give myself the best chance to be the best player and person I could be because the grades were half the battle, man. I've known so many good players that didn't last their years because they didn't maintain what they need to do off the court,
Exactly. So again, just to touch on that point. So again, I asked this question to Neville as well, who I interviewed a while back, and also to his prep coach, his agent, and all that kind of stuff. The academics. A lot of people still overlook the academics at a post-secondary institution. They feel like because you're an athlete, all these things are just given to you. Now, do you really have to go out there and earn your grades and earn your marks, or are the professors like, oh, you play sports, just show up when you can? Here's what you need to make sure you stay on the team because we need you on the team. Is that a reality, or is that more so like blue chips type mentality?
That's definitely not the case, man. I'll be honest. Like, especially with Ottawa U, like I'm sure every school has it's respected in its own manner, but like Ottawa U, with that many students, 40,000 plus, like honestly, you're just a number, man. Like these teachers, like they look at your grade, they look at the mark, they don't know who's writing the paper, like so you gotta hope maybe they recognize your face. And maybe, you know, like if you need an extension, maybe if you tell them like, yo, we have a national championship game, can I hand the paper in on the Monday? Yeah, maybe you can get that. But if you're looking for like an extra percentage or something like that, like personally, I never saw that in my 5 years. Like, I don't know who's gotten that, but that's tough if you can get that like during the university level, because there's just no, it's black or white, man. At least that's from what I've heard.
Okay, fair enough. So you finish your time at Ottawa U. Fast forward, you're now a fifth-year pro playing overseas. So where are some of the places that you've played?
So I went Estonia, then I went to Spain, then I went to Germany, then I went back to Spain, and then this year I started in Greece and I finished the season off in France.
So now, what's that like? Obviously, you're really now living in countries with histories that we probably read about or learned about in high school or wherever. Now you're in those places. What's that like for you? What's the sentimental value that brings to you when you're living that in real time?
Bro, honestly, man, I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's not all it cut outs to be. Because like, I remember my first year, we had played for the university games for Team Canada, and I didn't really have any looks up until that date. And I had a really good game against Estonia. Yes, Tony Levac from Estonia. What's up, man? And
What's up, Tony Levac?
And my agent calls me after that tournament and goes, like, do you have a team that wants you in Estonia? And there was actually another team in Germany that was interested at the time too. And my agent's like, you know, we're going to pursue this Estonia offer. It makes the most sense.
Right.
You know, you're going to play 2 games a week, so that's good exposure, blah, 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 blah. So he sells it, and I'm just like, okay.
Right.
Get off the call, and I look up where's Estonia, because I had no clue where it was, man. And I felt so dumb doing that, but I was just like,
right.
I was like, yo, I gotta like learn about where I'm about to go into now, like. And I go and look at it, and I'm seeing like Northern Europe. It's part near Russia, and I'm like, yo, this is like a whole nother ball game.
Right.
So, and then I remember like I got out there. I'm the first import that gets there. And like the first 2 weeks, we didn't even touch a basketball. Like, we were in forests. I'm waking up, doing forests every single day, lifting weights, doing power cleans, hang cleans, like day after game. They have me running on the track, and I'm just like, yo, what? Like, what is going on right now? And I'm like looking around, and I don't have any like Americans to even like relate to at this point.
Right.
And like that helps. And it's kind of weird. Like, you gotta have a little community of like your guys when you're over there, just because everyone kind of understands each other in Northern America. So now you're kind of integrating into their culture, and you kind of just got to accept it and embrace it, because otherwise it's going to eat you up, man. Because like, it's not the same. It's beautiful in its own sense, but it's not the same.
Right. So now, what has to happen for someone to sign a contract and play professional basketball in Europe? Like, how does that process come about?
I mean, I think, you know, in most sports, like, you kind of got to go the route of like getting an agent.
Right.
Because I mean, the agent is kind of the guy that kind of puts together all, like, they reach out to all the teams and contacts and their partners and whatnot. And, you know, coming out of university, like, we don't really know, like I said, I didn't even know about the countries and the leagues and stuff like that until I got over there. So now I'm like, a couple agents hit me up in my last year of university. I kind of asked questions. I got them to actually talk to my family a little bit, kind of ask them what kind of sense they got for things, and, you know, what kind of intuition they had. And I probably asked them like 10 different questions, like every couple of days, because like my mind is racing. Because now we're talking about like, this is your job. Like, what does that mean exactly? Like, I'm asking, you know, how much money can we make? And, you know, it's all about like figuring out what's real and what's not. Because like a lot of these guys tell you things that sound perfect. Mm-hmm. And it's not the reality. Maybe like after 1 or 2 years, and you kind of get to that ideal situation, but you got to be ready to like really endure some things that people don't talk about, or like the stuff you don't see on like Instagram and social media and stuff, you know?
Right. So have you ever been in a situation where a club sends a contract to your agent, to you, you sign it, you go over there, and they give you a new contract with completely different information? Has that ever happened to you?
I haven't seen that one. What I've seen is like, I've had multiple times, like, my least favorite word is the word interest.
Right.
When an agent hits me up and says like, yo, we have interest from this team, because like in my head I'm like, they probably just told like 10 players that like they're interested in them, you know? So like that became one of my least favorite words after my like second year. And I kind of just would tell my agent like, yo, just tell me if we got something or if we don't. Cause like my first year out, it was, we're going to go to Belgium and then we're going to go here. And then now it's late in the summer, we're going to Estonia. It's like, just keep it real with me, man. Cause I don't want to, and that's what made me like, kind of hold everything in my chest. I stopped telling people things. I'm like, yo, like, let me just sign a paper before I start telling my family I'm making this much and I'm gonna drive a car. And it's honestly, it's not like that, man, at all.
Right. So again, I think you touched on this briefly about being in different places you played at, but was there an adjustment period once you got to Europe, and how long do you think it took for you to kind of mesh and got comfortable being there and playing there?
Yeah, I'd say probably my first year was the toughest. Because I went from like all my guys are still in university, like they're championship chasing. Like I had that FOMO. Like I was like, oh, I missed like just being in the crib with these guys, like living with my guys and just getting hyped with them and stuff. And now I'm kind of just
post roast.
Yes, I missed the post roast and the stuff you don't see on TikToks and stuff like that when we get after it. But I mean, that stuff's priceless for me. So I got to hold on to that stuff closely. And then, like, now I'm in a hotel room because that's our sponsor my first year.
Okay.
And I'm just like, this is my life now for the next 8 to 10 months, depending on how far we go, So I think after that first year, though, honestly, like, I started to look forward to it more. And, like, towards the end of the summer, it's like, all right, like, this is a new challenge coming. Now you're going to Spain. Like, I really like playing out there. I like the culture out there and stuff. I ended up playing 2 seasons out there. Germany was nice too. And, just seeing different like levels of professionalism along the way. Like when you have a good club that like treats you well, like they're going to take care of you and you enjoy the experience a lot more, man. So I definitely learned to just kind of embrace taking the naps that Spain likes taking in the middle of the afternoon. Cause I don't mind,
The siestas.
The siestas, man, and the late night dinners, and they like their vino and stuff. So you gotta enjoy it, man. Otherwise, those 8-10 months can be a beast.
Okay, yes, great point. So now, how looking back at your time at Ottawa, how did your time there help prepare you for the pros?
I think it kind of helped me because, I felt real comfortable with my game. After my 5th year, I felt like I kind of did what I could, from being a guy that just came into, yes, Zaragoza, what's up? I came in from, just being a guy that was spot up and stay off, like, on the side, and now being able to get the ball in my hands and just being able to, like, make different reads and situations from a basketball standpoint. And then kind of just from a personal standpoint, it kind of just, I wasn't fully sure how I was going to handle it because I went to school in Ottawa.
Right.
So, like, it was my first time leaving, and I kind of just had to be like, all right, like, this is going to be a new challenge. Let me see how all my boys did it, like, when they came to Ottawa U from Toronto or wherever. And I knew there was going to be some, like, fears and some challenges there. But I also felt comfortable because, like, I knew I had my support system behind me, and, like, everyone was still, like, rooting for me and supporting me back home. So that kind of kept me going, even on days that were a little bit tougher that we don't really all talk about or know about,
Okay. All right. So now, you're in a space now. You've done the traveling. You've been going back and forth to Europe. You're having a great 5th year in your 5th season. You start out in Greece, but then you transition to a team in France. Can you touch on a little bit as to what happened and why did that happen?
Yeah. So I mean, this is my first time going through something like that, actually. So I had a 2-year deal in Spain, and then I was like, oh, let me go and try and go for something else. I was down to try and explore a different option, and me and my agent were on board for that. And actually, to end the summer, I ended up switching agents, and we found something in Greece which made sense, and it was a cool opportunity for me to have like a starting role. And Greece is like a really respected basketball league, and it has a lot of basketball culture. So when I went out there, it was good for me as an experience because it kind of gave me that responsibility that I was looking for to show that I could, do this at a high level. And it actually went well for me individually, but like that part kind of sucks when you're not winning.
Right.
And, different cultures and different basketball cultures have the way they handle they handle things differently.
Right.
And Greece is a beast. Like, Greece does not play around from certain places.
Right.
Man went from the feta to the fromage. So From there, the management was like changing players. They changing players every couple of games, and I was just like, yo, this is really weird to me. Like I wasn't worried too much about my situation because I was just trying to do what I can, but they were trying to look for everything to try and switch it so that you can keep the management happy, the fans happy, and like I get it. That's the business side of it that people don't know about. It's just like it's a show in some aspect because they're trying to keep people entertained, and sponsors are like, yo, this is my money. You got a job to do, so you got to hold it down for me. So from there, we ended up changing coaches, and right at around that same time, a couple teams had reached out to me saying like one team in Spain, a couple teams from all over reached out and said like, we're interested in getting you to finish the season off here.
Right.
And, honestly, like it was a matter of like opportunity for basketball, and it was a better league. So I kind of just tried to push my agent to see like, hey, can we make this happen?
Right.
And that was a kind of weird experience for me because I kind of had to go and talk to the coach, and he wasn't too happy because, I was a big piece of the team.
Right.
And he always talks about, but if you're not happy here, I kind of got to respect your decisions. And, I had to stick it out personally. Like, I'll be honest, I had to stick it out for a couple games still to try and help the team until they found a player. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to talk to the team in France, like, yo, wait for me. Like, we can talk about the contract soon. But at the same time, I have an obligation to help these guys try and win some games.
Yeah.
So I ended up playing a couple games. Probably not, they kind of said, like, we want to see if we can play without you. So I kind of just sucked it up and just played for the team and played for the guys that I just went to war with for the last 4 months until we can kind of come to an agreement, and then until they found another player. So once they did, we were able to kind of part ways, and I was able to go to France, where I went to Boulazac for the last 3 months, France Pro A League, and it was a really good experience for me out there.
Awesome. So now all that's going on. You're now in France. You're starting to play and get comfortable there and mesh with the guys on your team now. And then this global pandemic breaks out.
Beast.
At that point, what do you do now? Do you pack up and leave and run for your life? Or are there channels that you have to go through perhaps with your agent and with the team to figure out the contract stuff before you can leave?
That was weird, man, because it hit Italy hard.
Right.
And then everyone else is kind of watching, but no one's really, everyone's still talking like it's the flu. It's okay. We'll be all right. And, so we end up playing one more game, and they kind of just restrict the fans. They say, okay, under, I think, 4,000. We're not going to let over 4,000 come into this game, but we'll still play it. So we play that game, we win, and then the next week, things change fast. So we practice, and then, now the virus is getting into France hard. Right. It's starting to go everywhere, and now everyone's like, hey, what's our next move?
Yeah.
So now we get to the end of the week, and we're supposed to go play in Strasbourg, where the virus is, it's very active, and they actually end up, what do they do? The day before, they're like, okay, the game's canceled, but they still haven't canceled the league. And from there, we're going, and we're still playing it day by day. They're like, maybe in a week or two, the virus is going to get better, and, there's going to be a cure. No one really knew what to do. So we're just everyone's sitting tight. We're practicing, but no one's mind is really in it, because now we're seeing people are really sick, and it's just, airlines are starting to close. We're like, yo, we got to get back home. Mm-hmm. And eventually we started talking to the team, and they started to feel basically the reason why the teams are all worried, because they're going to lose a lot of money, and they're worried from that aspect. So they don't want to lose money, but at the same time, they can't put us in a bad position. So now, luckily, Trudeau and all these governments started saying, if you're from Canada, you got to get back to Canada, blah, 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 and certain things. So now the team's hey, this is getting really serious. We'll let you guys go.
Right.
If the season resumes, it's up to you to come back. So right now, I think 90% of the leagues have canceled in Europe. Mm-hmm. Except I think France, Spain, Germany, and Russia are the only leagues that are suspended. So they're still trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
But I mean, I think they'll make a decision soon. But it's just a lot of X and O's with all the TV deals and all this stuff like that they're all really stressed about. So I think Europe basketball and the economy everywhere is going to be hit for a while, trying to recover from this. But meanwhile, our GM dropped us off in Paris, and then basically just went from Paris to Montreal, and then got picked up, and then got back to Ottawa, and just been quarantining ever since.
So now, when you first come back to Ottawa, obviously there's this restriction that they had. If you've been out of the country, you have to self-isolate for 14 days, 2 weeks, whatever. do you now, coming from the situation you're coming from, do you go home and say, hey guys, I'm here, or do you say, I'm in town, but I'm probably going to lay low somewhere else to make sure that I'm not bringing anything into around people that I love that could harm them?
Yeah, that was probably that was weird because in my head I'm like I want to go see my parents like off jump, like that's the first thing I'm thinking. But in my head they're older, everyone's susceptible, and at this point I was in the fire, like being overseas and stuff in France. So one of my friends, Anwar, big shout out, he actually helped me get a spot in Ottawa for a couple weeks on my own. So it was a weird experience, man. Honestly, I was like, my family knew I was in town. My girlfriend drove me into the city, and then we kind of just haven't been able to see her since because of that. And, we just stayed masked up in the car. It was really weird. But basically when my parents kind of came, they would come drop me food off. And, it would be the weirdest exchange. Like, my dad would just open the trunk, and I would just grab stuff from the trunk and just bring it back in the room, and I'd be good for a couple of days. And then, I would just be sitting watching Netflix, whatever. And then, we kind of just did that for a couple of weeks. Okay. And then after I didn't notice anything, I came back to my parents' house about, 2 weeks ago. Okay,
awesome. So, yeah, to answer your question, Brandon, Johnny is in town. He's laying low. Yeah, so, all right, so just finishing up, we have a couple more questions, and we have a little bit for obviously your fellow GGs who want to ask some questions, or anyone else who are involved in this chat right now. So with the season's pretty much over. Like, I don't know how quickly this thing's going to get resolved, but at this point, I guess it's safe to say the season's over. What things are you doing now? Because there's still a level of uncertainty as to how long this is going to last, or if things are going to resume as normal, say, back August, September is usually when you leave to go overseas. From now until that point, what things are you doing to make sure you stay ready? Because as we know also, everything is shut down. It's hard to get into a gym, hard to get into a weight room, so you got to get kind of creative. So what are you doing personally to get you to stay ready?
Man, I'm just hitting these jail workouts in the basement, just trying to get a pump, man. Honestly, just doing these, I guess I'd probably say I put a program together for a couple of weeks. I'm trying to gain some weight and stuff. Whenever I try and do that, usually at the beginning of the off season. This one's probably going to be a little bit different. So I haven't ran or anything yet, but I'll probably start going for jogs and stuff and, getting some sprints in the next couple of weeks. But besides that, I've just been lifting. I got some dumbbells and just doing core and stuff in the basement. But I mean, basketball wise, honestly, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm probably I'm looking at buying a net to put in front of the crib for now. But I mean, and just wear some insoles because the knee's about to get fried. But man's doing the Gary G workouts. You feel me, Brandon?
That's the trench life. Yeah.
That's how we trying, man. That's what we trying to do, man. But honestly, just like you said, bro, just trying to get creative, man. Because I honestly there's so much unknown, but it's we're all in this together. I feel weird even complaining because there's bigger things going on right now, so I can't even complain.
Awesome. And finally, what are some criticisms that you often hear about yourself, and how do you respond to it?
For me, the biggest thing is I always get I never pass the eye test for people.
Okay.
I'm always I'm a 6'1", skinny East African guy that everyone says I'm a runner and stuff. I've been I've had coaches tell me that.
Right.
She knows who she is. But I've had many people tell me that, honestly, teams, I've had my agents have told me this team's interested in you, but they think you're slim or whatever. And then, maybe that team, ends up giving me a look that actually happened. And the next year they wanted to sign me and we didn't go. And it's funny how it goes. Cause it's just once you prove yourself on that level, it's oh, now we want him. Now he's an asset. And they want to focus on the positives. But, I've heard it athleticism, defensively, size, point guard, whatever, I've heard it all. So basically just kind of going back and forth and hearing that stuff. But I kind of just focus on what I can do. And I'm not going to try and change for anyone at this point.
Solid. And now, how have you evolved as a person and as a player since transitioning from U Ottawa to the pro?
I mean, I think I'm just kind of ready to just figure things out on the fly, to be honest. Let me just see what's going on and adapt to it. I didn't even really talk about all these little experiences, but even my first year in Estonia, the head coach didn't speak English.
Right.
So we had the assistant coach translating.
Wow.
And, you know, like if we have to ask questions, we go through him, or like sometimes he'll cuss us out, and, you know, we'll look at our play, like a local player, and we'll want to know what's going on. And he'll just be like, nah, like, don't worry about that. Or like, just be aggressive and stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So basically just kind of going back from there and just kind of hearing what, sorry, these comments are killing me, man. But just kind of just hearing that, and, you know, just adjusting on the fly is probably the biggest thing for me, man, honestly.
Okay, awesome. Well, with that being said, those are all the questions I have for you. For anyone else who's in the chat, I'm not going to scroll through the comments and look for your questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you want to post a question right now, you know, I'll read it out to Johnny, and he'll respond. And then after that, you know, if you post a question, he doesn't get read, post it again. If not, I'm not going to go through these comments.
Yes, notice, Greece.
Yeah, so shout outs to, the floor is open for anybody who wants to shoot a question at Johnny.
All right.
All right, well, I guess I'll give him a second. Probably takes a second. Brandon wants to know your big culture shock moment.
Honestly, the coach one was a tough one for me, what I just said, like when I was in Estonia. Because, like, people, like, take that for credit. Like, you really don't know what you take for granted, like, when you can't even communicate with your coach like that, the way you want to. Like, maybe keep a word here and there, but, like, you know, like hearing game plans and stuff like that, and then having the assistant coach sit beside you and tell you, like, this is what he wants, this is what he wants. And then you kind of have to understand that, like, the level I was at wasn't maybe the highest level, but it was a big experience. It was a big, like, it was really important for me. And I kind of needed to understand that, like, there's going to be days where they're going to love you when the ball goes in, and when it doesn't go in, they're not going to like you that day. So you kind of learn to, like, just stop looking over your shoulder and just know that, like, I'm never going to have the kind of relationship I have with Coach Jimmy in Estonia for 8 months. You know what I mean? Wow. So it's kind of like, let me just trust my work, and the days that suck, like, I got to just eat those ones, and, like, maybe I'll be worried about my job or whatever the case may be, but let me just trust my work at this point and let them just try and like me for the player I am, because, you know, they brought me there for a reason.
Awesome. Zach Trier wants to know, what criteria do you follow when selecting an agent?
I think my first year out, I was like, I want someone that's in Europe because that's where I'm going.
Right.
And they kind of, I looked at someone that kind of showed me the most interest, but kept it real, and told me, you know, like, I asked them, you know, what are, like, my faults, like, how long, what kind of game plan can we have for like a couple of years in your opinion? And, like, then I kind of just figure out what makes sense from what they're saying and from what I'm hearing from other agents as well. And, you know, this year I ended up switching, and I went with a Canadian agent because I kind of felt more comfortable with him and being within the country, and, you know, he had his partners overseas, so it kind of made sense. Like, it was the best of both worlds for me.
Right.
And it was a good switch for me, honestly, man. But I think I just try to ask them challenging questions, because it's always easy to hear the hype. Like, any agent you call that wants you is going to hype you, so you gotta kind of just hear if they can, what are they going to do when they hear the bad things, you know?
So again, all right, great answer. Calvin wants to know, what's the best meal you've had in each country you've been at?
That's tough. I'd probably say Greece had fire food. The Greek salads were crazy. Shout out my boy Notice, put me on. Spain, I messed with the paella. Was real good out there. The paella goes crazy out there. Germany, probably famous, like they love their schnitzel.
Right.
So hit the schnitzels out there. And
wait. What is a schnitzel though? Is it like a Wiener schnitzel or like that? What is a schnitzel?
No. Schnitzel's like it's veal,
right,
but
okay.
it's like fried on the outside.
Okay.
And I mean that hits good. Estonia was a tough one for me. They love their potatoes and meat out there.
Right.
The flavor game might not be that strong like Spain, but I mean, if you try to get bulky, like you can hit Estonia and gain a couple pounds for sure.
Okay, awesome. So another young clutch wants to know, what do coaches look for in a player coming out of college or university for them to be considered a pro, to play at the pro level?
I'd say the biggest thing is just like they want to know if you can. Because, you know, these coaches overseas now, like...
Shout out to Coach Jimmy. He's in the cut.
Coach Jimmy, man. No more shout-outs for you, man. But honestly, like, I'd probably say just being able to be coachable, man. Understand that, like, you're going to go into a new situation, a new program, a new club, and like they're going to ask you to either do something that they believe you can do, and you got to do that because now it's your job. It's not like, oh, this is a scholarship. This is, they pay you and you work for them. So you might not have that same type of interpersonal relationship with them that you have with your university coach, but like you got to be ready to just, produce and understand that, okay, I need you to sit in the corner and do these baseline cuts, and you're not, it's not what you want, but we got everyone at the pro level is their MVP at their university level, or this kind of all-star, so you got to just kind of leave your ego at the door and just embrace your role. Right. If you can do that, then you're going to give yourself a better chance to make it happen.
Awesome. So here's what I'm going to do, right? Because at some point within the next couple of minutes, we're going to be at the hour mark, and this is probably going to shut down. So I think there's some still good questions that want to be answered. If you're still down, we can queue it back up, and then we answer those questions.
I got you.
All right. So another question was, what is the biggest difference you find between North American players and European players?
I say like you get over there and then you see that you're playing against grown men. So now the best of them are going to be grown men that have athleticism and the IQ. But when I got over there, I kind of learned that like I'm not going to be on the upper echelon of like the athletes. So I kind of have to learn how to keep growing and like learn how to read the game and stuff, right? So from there, I kind of understood that basically there's going to be a lot of size. There's going to be a lot more physicality than I'm used to, because now I'm going against guys that are 30-year-old pros and we're on the same court, and that's an expectation. You got to be ready for that every night.
Right.
But the other side of it is that like the athleticism in North America, I think, is at a higher level, and they can kind of make up for, IQ plays and, with their athleticism, right? So if you can have best of both worlds, you're going to be in a good position. Over there, they really appreciate the IQ and stuff, and they kind of, take the scouting and all those things really, really serious, because maybe those countries aren't as blessed athletically as you'll see like over in North America, like in the NBA. That's why it's hard for some guys to translate their game from Europe to the NBA or NBA to Europe, because it is a little bit different.
All right, we got one from the great Will Donko. If you answered this earlier, my bad, but for all unit player watching, how many days a week did you grind on your game outside of practice time?
I say in university, for sure, I would say I was in the gym 6 to 7 days a week. And like, I didn't know better. I was just like, even if I'm not going to say I was going crazy hard every day. Right. That'd be a lie, but like, I was always just repping out. And like, especially my earlier years when I was just a shooter on the wings and stuff, like I was just there shooting up 200, 250 or whatever, and then I go to class. Like individuals was a must for me. And then, I go in the gym with Mike or whoever. Even if I'd honestly, like if I had 30-minute break my first couple years, I would go in and just like shoot form shooting, because I saw the gym. I was like, I have an hour and a half break in between classes. Like I can't go back to Orleans right now anyway, so I might as well just go in the gym or like get a pump or whatever. So I kind of just abuse that as much as I can. I'd say I tried to be like a gym rat to the best of my abilities, for sure.
Awesome. Somebody just called me a hater. I guess I must have missed their question. This one's from S Buckets. What's your mentality going to a new team, knowing that you're going to have to outperform other guys who have been there before?
That was probably weird. Like sometimes you go over there and you're like, yo, everyone kind of wants to like flex and like show their dominance and like who they are. But then you kind of remember. I remember I'm like, yeah, I just kind of let the game come to me, because like they brought me here for a reason. Like, and I know I'm going over there and I'm probably a different player than when I was my fifth year, and I have the ball in my hands a lot more and doing certain things. And now, I'm kind of going back to like my first couple of years where like I have to be off the ball, and it's about just doing what they want, because I know they hired me, man. Like they could change me if I'm not doing what they brought me to do. Right. So I got to just accept that. And like, it's not a disrespect. It's not like I don't take an ego hit. Like, and if you show them that you're doing your job more, they'll give you more to work with. They'll give you that extra 5 minutes, or, they'll put you in better situations to make plays for the team because you're doing your part. Right. So I kind of just try to let my game speak, and there's going to be enough practices. I don't try to just show it in one practice. I kind of just try to be
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're counting on right now. So we're going to shut it down and then queue it back up. And then we'll just finish the last couple questions and go from there.
You're going to.
Yo, a lot of you guys are getting too aggressive, bro. Like, the conversation's flowing the way it's flowing. And if your question is visible at the moment, that's what I'm going to ask. But a lot of you guys are getting, I'm not purposely trying to overlook anybody's question, but you guys are getting too aggressive with the way you guys are reacting about that. So a little bit, and then we conclude it from there. Yeah, I believe the last questions we were touching on was one from S Buckets about your mentality, about how you approach your situation going into a new team. So I think we're good with that answer.
We're good with that. Yeah, S Buckets.
Yeah. So shout out to S Buckets. There was another question from Fire Up the Jets, I believe. His question was, what are the 2 things that you learned from your time at Ottawa U?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is that, just focus on your game, do your thing. Coaches are always going to be recruiting, looking for guys. That's just kind of like that's just how it works. You got 5 years and you got to kind of make the best out of it. And you got to understand that, if you're not doing what they like, the reality is that, they'll any moment they could switch direction to, the program or who they want to focus on, whether it's youth or experience or whatever. So kind of just maximize it and give yourself the best chance every day. Wow. And don't give people anything that they can say about you. If you really care about it, then you're going to do everything you can in your power to make the best out of it.
All right, and then next question from OC Express. Those bus drivers are getting a little too aggressive for my liking. Shout out to OC. I know you guys are under a lot of stress, in the current situation and still having to work.
Heroes, Gary G,
Nah, man, not me. But yeah, so the question was, now, what's next for you after basketball?
That's a good one, man. Honestly, I kind of wrestle with this a bit because I don't know if I want to still be a part of basketball or not after. I don't know if I want to coach and stuff. A part of me wants to, but I'm still trying to figure that out. Honestly, that one's up in the air a little bit. I gotta get back to you, OC Express. Give me some days, man. I'm a DM you, but I don't know yet, bro. I'm trying to figure that out, though. I'm trying to figure that out.
Okay, awesome. So I think that's a good note to end on. I want to say thank you for joining us. I know you didn't have to do it, but I really appreciate the fact that you chimed in. You dropped some gems on. I noticed there was a lot of university players in the conversation, watching the chat, who might be thinking about going to play overseas. So hopefully, they listen to what you're saying on the process, what you did, the experiences that you have, and what helped you blossom into the player you have. So thanks for joining us. Thank you. I wish you the best always. It's been a pleasure watching you. It's always a pleasure watching you. It's a pleasure playing with you for the times we get to do that. I want to make a point before I leave, and that's to touch on, your journey a little bit as I've seen it. I want to give a special shout outs to Coach Jimmy, the coaching staff at Ottawa U, Coach Jimmy, Coach Emil, CP, Chris Dale, and everybody that was there, especially the time that I spent there back in 2015, 2016. I was thoroughly impressed with the amount of work they put into their player development, not just going to the gym and getting shots up, but obviously teaching you guys the game of basketball and obviously increasing your IQ. And I think there's a lot of programs that missed out on that. And when I look back on my career per se, I think that was something that I really missed. And it definitely shows a difference on the levels that the Ottawa U players get to, when they go overseas. It's almost like I heard Coach Jimmy said that when I was there. He said, we pretty much run a pro style practice and training, and obviously try to play a pro style game. So I think that benefits you guys a lot when you get overseas. You look at the players that went over there, you, Warren, Caleb, you guys, Mike, you guys went over there and you guys did phenomenal stuff. So I think I also want to give them credit and highlight that as well. And for any coaches who are watching, the game of basketball is played slightly different overseas. The IQ part, the half-court basketball of the game, is a big deal. So a lot of you guys who want to shoot from half court, who could jump out of the gym, that's cute. But if you can't read a defense, you can't study a playbook, if you can't execute a play in the second it's drawn up, because there are a lot of situations that just happen in basketball. If you can't do that, you're not going overseas. And I hate to say it to you, it's just so much different when people are paying you to play basketball. Responsibility is totally different. So shout out to Coach Jimmy and the staff at Ottawa U.
Snap.
I'm going to tip my hats to you guys for that because I respect that. So as we conclude this chat with Johnny Brahani, for our next chat, we're actually going to sit down with one of his former teammates, which is Caleb Agata, who is still overseas. So we're going to touch bases with him and see what's going on with him. You know, his transition as well from UO to the pros, and you know what steps he's taking now to grow as a player and how he's adapting to the European culture. Because from what I see, man, you're fully Europeanized. I don't know if you're ever going to come back this way again.
I
I don't know if you're stuck there or you stayed there, but we're looking forward to that conversation. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, sir. All love, man. Stay blessed. Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah. Stay in the trenches, man. Trench life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, guys.
Yes, sir. Peace, bro.
Yeah.
What's the problem now? No, it is something because you're always crying for something. You need to relax. Thanks, champ. I need you to stop. 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 Goodness. Stop the coughing because you're just faking it. Go downstairs. Stop the crying. I don't want to hear any crying from you. All you're doing is crying. Give me a break. Go downstairs. Go downstairs. Like you guys just running amok. Go downstairs and put your boots on, man. Are you going out?
I better participate. Not been involved yet.
Hey, Mate, big guy.
This barely fits. But hey, you know, doesn't
One
matter.
last wear.
Pardon?
One last wear.
Tell me. Tell me, baby. I bought this in Oklahoma. I did. I need a. It's up. It's up. Hey, man. Hey, man.
Yes. What'd you say? The car keys?
Car seat.
Where? Oh. Okay. I'm coming.
You changed your outfit?
It is.
Going for a walk around the block. Like nobody's gonna see what you're wearing.
It is though.
No, it's not. Like, this is so childish.
It's not childish. I need
Yeah,
some
it is
pictures for
childish.
the gram. Sorry.
No,
It's
you're
not
doing
childish.
anything
It's not
like
childish.
that. It is
It's
childish.
not childish.
You're going for a walk.
Yeah, and I'm putting on some clothes. It's not
You
childish.
already had clothes on. I don't have all
I'm
day.
putting on some clothes.
I don't have all
I'm
day
putting
for
on
this.
some clothes.
You already had an outfit
I'm putting
on.
on some clothes.
No, you're not.
I'm putting on some clothes.
You always do this.
Yeah, I'm
You're
putting
the
on some
last
clothes.
one to come downstairs, and it's because you're outfit surfing. Like I don't know what you do with people on Instagram. Not everything's for the gram.
Look at those turkeys. I'm calling the turkeys.
There's one. There's one.
Doing the turkey call.
Oh, there's Mommy Muffin.
His Mama Muffin.
Easy.
Mama Muffin. Mom. Mom.
Another airplane? Oh, there's one over here too.
Whoa. Whoa. That's a big airplane. All the way up. Oh.
What's the one that was landing?
I don't
Oh,
know.
there it is. All the way over there.
What? What?
Oh, there's Mom. Oh, she's coming.
Okay, wait, you want Nora?
Well, I think we're trying her out.
Hopefully.
Okay, Roman, Nara, come back. Come back. Run. Come. Come on, Nora. Okay, let's go. Come back. Roman, come back. Go. Go, go, go. Come on, Nora. Come on, Nora. Nora. Nora.
Good run, guys.
Okay.
Let's run to mommy.
Okay.
I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. So this has more square footage.
Yeah.
Okay, Daddy, get ready to run. Get ready to run, guys. Get ready to run.
Hey, wait,
Guys, guys. No, don't touch anything on the floor, please. Nice one, guys.
Your mom got a freebie. No, not is this where you guys are playing? No, we were like, where is that ticket person? We were right beside it kicking the mom. That's the park. Laura says, that's the park, Mom. You got a freebie.
If you try to jump over the side to side.
Roman, you have to stop.
Slow down.
Yeah, there's a car coming. Where the birds go? Oh, there's a bunch. Nathan, did you see the birds? Hey, car's
Stop,
coming.
stop, guys.
What's your name?
It's not right, though, but where's the line?
Mommy,
Jump, jump. I did not. Where is it, man? Easy.
You wanna go for a run around and then we'll come back on the other side?
Okay, guys.
guys. Don't worry, Rowan, I'm gonna pass you soon. Not for long. Come on, Nora.
You can do it.
Come on.
Come on, God.
Natasha. Come on, you can do it. Let's go.
Do it. Money, baby. Go do it.
Come on, mommy. Huh?
That's landing.
Yeah, very nice.
Come in, Daddy.
I'm winning. I got the inside lane.
Good. It's blue.
I'm winning.
It won't be pink.
Come on, Nora!
Come on, Dad.
Come on!
Hey.
I'm winning. Take a break. I win. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna. Hey, I win.
Hey, Daddy.
Let's wait for Nora and Grandma. Let's go meet them.
Let's go catch up. And then she took off. I'm like, oh, Roman's coming back for you. Oh, we caught up though. Yay!
Good job, Mommy.
High
You did
five.
good. High five.
No, okay. No five.
That's two.
That was a good
Dad,
workout.
you got 16. Grandma, you got 42. No, you got 26. And I got 42.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was
Good job.
excellent.
Good boy.
Now get off the curb, please. That's not your place. Get off. Get off, please. Thanks. No, go around. Yeah, go around, please. Skip the mud, please.
Laura, that was amazing how you caught up.
Yep.
That was so good.
Hey, now then.
Yeah, we did it.
Van Leezy. Alright, good job, guys. Good job. Come on. No, get out of the mud, please. Come this way. coming first?
Okay.
Come on, Roman. Kick your boots off, please.
Up.
Take them off here. Take them off here, please.
Yeah. Every time they're talking about that, the blue one and the white one and the blue one.
We're gonna have some chocolate muffins and
I don't know like this. I'll do that.
yeah. Coffee cup cup.
Guys, lay them on the table yet. No,
Okay, you guys just cool off.
let's cool off.
Wash your hands, please. Wait, I'm washing my hands, so you wait. Okay, who's next?
Me.
Good job, kids. Nora, you are amazing.
Yeah.
Me too.
What's your other hand? What the other hand? What this hand?
Faster.
You were so fast, Roman, and then you came back to Nora. That's
Okay,
great.
rub your hands together. Wash your hands, please. Rub them together.
Good.
Rub them together.
Nora and Roman, you're faster than your daddy.
Okay, Roman, go wipe your turn.
Okay.
You go ahead. I took a muffin.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I took a muffin.
Do this. Soap on it. Make a nice little suck. Ooh, get between the fingers. Get off the back of the chair. Nora, would you like a muffin?
is.
I don't think I can have like 3 of those in a day.
Nah, it's very rich. Yeah, one a day is good.
One and a half. If anybody would like to split one with Roman, I'm counting I can love a number, so because we've already cleaned up chocolate.
I already had some. I need to have it.
Trying to be nice.
No. And then we'll go to sleep. Let them work down a little bit.
I went to bed last night at 4:45, so.
Exactly. No.
They woke up from their nap at like 6.
Right. Still. I need to watch It, Chapter 2.
Is that on Netflix? Which one's that?
Remember It? We watched the first one
When we first moved
with the
here,
clown.
the clown movie. So you watched the original? We watched it. You watched it
Not
too.
the original, but there's a part 2. Remember we watched it? You guys were scared in the beginning. We was like, it's not so scary. There's a part 2.
I don't know about that guy. It.
Bro, has to be a movie night. Has to be a movie night. Who's having a shower first?
Nora?
Always Nora. Sometimes it's
Me!
Yeah, sometimes you
Sometimes.
Hey, Grandma, I'm gonna have to. I wanna have.
What would you like to have?
I wanna have one more cupcake.
Which one is mine?
What?
One my muffin.
Coconut. You don't have another muffin? What makes you be? What if you eat it pretty clean, Mom?
You guys do that.
I told him he could have half.
Okay.
Have half. With me.
I'm gonna have half of you, Grandma.
Okay, sure. I'm washing your plate right now. But you have to promise not to put any on the floor.